Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So, today I want to talk about the fallout of Whole Cake Island. And so guys, we are still not completely certain whether or not Whole Cake Island is over, but recent editor comments that I read, basically the preview for chapter 902 suggests that it probably is over. The editor specifically said the last stop of the chaotic Whole Cake Island arc. We will continue to say this for the ends of time now, but always be skeptical of whatever comes out of an editor's mouth. That being said, that doesn't mean that whatever they say has no value. We're not certain if it can always be trusted. So just don't call it fact quite yet. But it really does seem likely Whole Cake Island is over. And so guys, assuming that it is over, we are left with a lot of things that are just sort of hanging up in the air. What will happen to Jinbei and his crew? What will happen to Peckham's? What will happen to the Vinsmoke? What about Pudding's promise or last words to Sanji, last request? When will Big Mom find out that Sanji was the one to make the cake and not Pudding? When will Big Mom find out that Luffy was able to defeat Katakuri? What will happen to Katakuri? I actually forgot about this for my first reaction to the last chapter, but Nami still has Zeus. The Strats are literally taking Zeus to Wano. We still don't know when Caesar will appear or reappear or what will happen with him. And has the cake completely played its role in this story or not? And I'm certain that I'm probably forgetting many other questions that we could be having at this moment. And so right now I'm hearing a lot of people talk negatively about Whole Cake Island, specifically its end. I mean, even some people who liked Whole Cake Island are not happy with the way that it is ending. But I just want to interject here for just a moment, just to sort of add context onto really what Whole Cake Island was all about. A lot of people was looking for it to be this complete arc. But if the arc ends in this way, it's almost blatantly obvious, guys, that Whole Cake Island is just a stepping stone leading Big Mom into another part of the story. And so this is the way that I try to think about it, that Big Mom is a character within the story based on how Oda has imagined her that is sort of difficult to move around. You can't get Big Mom to go somewhere very easily. So if Oda has his master plan of the Big Mom pirates showing up in another part of the story where you would not expect them to be or where they would not go otherwise, you need some way to influence them, to motivate them to leave Whole Cake Island. You need to get Big Mom out of Whole Cake Island, and Oda has accomplished that with what has happened here. I think that it should be pretty clear that these Strats have no reason to return to Whole Cake Island aside from Big Mom. And if these Strats were ever going to come back to Whole Cake Island, then they would not need to have stolen the Road Poneglyph. If they were coming back, they could steal the Road Poneglyph at another time. But the fact that they are stealing it now suggests that Luffy is not going to come into Whole Cake Island in the future and then defeat Big Mom. Given that would be the only reason why they would need to return. And this is something that we have discussed at length in the past. Even since the beginning of Whole Cake Island, everyone expected Big Mom to show up somewhere else. A lot of people think that Big Mom might attack Fishman Island and maybe Luffy confronts her then. There's an Elbaf Big Mom connection which could lead Big Mom to Elbaf. And of course, one of the most popular theories of the past is that Big Mom will find her way into Wano. I think that you can make an argument for any one of these three possibilities, but of course I think that we all have our various preferences. But the point is that I think that Whole Cake Island, one of the major reasons why we were here was just to get Big Mom to one of these places. Because otherwise she would just stay in her territory, mind her own business, and I don't think that that was what Oda really wanted. I think Oda has big plans for Big Mom in the future. On one hand, you could have a relatively straightforward story, right? Big Mom in her territory, it's a Yonko, Luffy has to defeat all the Yonko, Luffy goes into her territory and defeats her. But on the other hand, you can have her act on the story in so many more interesting ways, and I think that Oda chose a more interesting way. Even if we're not sure exactly which way that is as of right now. But it required the Strats to come here first in order to lure her out. And when discussing this, I think that it's important to discuss, what was accomplished, what else was accomplished in Whole Cake Island, which is we got to know everything that we could possibly want to know about the Big Mom Pirates. There's, at this point in time, we know nearly every relevant member of her crew. All of their problems, all of their strengths, all of their abilities. We've sort of developed the relationship between the Straw Hats and the Big Mom Pirates. Oda has accomplished so much with them that Oda can literally take them and put them anywhere else, and he doesn't have to worry about them doing anything. He doesn't have to worry about explaining anything. All they have to do is act on the story in some way. And I think that that's important. Let's say for a moment that Big Mom ends up following the Straw Hats to Wano. I know that not everyone is going to believe that, but I think that's one of the possibilities, and that's personally what my preference is at the moment. You go into Wano, and you have all these new characters. You have, the samurai, you have the shogun, potentially you have the calamities, you have Kaido, his entire crew. If you wanted Big Mom to show up in Wano, which first off she might not have done in the first place because it's hard to get her out of Whole Cake Island, but if you wanted Big Mom to show up in Wano, and then you had to basically explain all the entire crews of two separate Yonko, it's impossible. There would just be too much going on. Oda would be biting off more than he can chew by forcing himself to give us context on two separate Yonkos plus move the story forward. It would not be a good idea. It's better to separate it out into two separate parts. You give us context on the Big Mom Pirates, then you lead them into Wano where you can give us context on the Beast Pirates, on Kaido's crew. It makes a lot of sense in this way. But I also think that Oda accomplished two other things which are more low-key than these that I've previously mentioned. The first of which is that Luffy badly needed training. Because at the start of Whole Cake Island, he was not even Sweet Commander or Yonko Commander level. He was close, but not really. Can you guys imagine Luffy going into Wano, fighting against Kaido and his calamities, but not actually being able to defeat any of the calamities by himself, and yet expecting to defeat Kaido? It's just ridiculous. If we are expecting an arc where Luffy faces off against Kaido, he has to first get through the calamities in order to even confront him, let alone even having the slightest chance of beating him, or being even partially useful in a fight against him. Which means that Luffy has to, at least in some parts, be able to defeat a calamity without being completely useless afterwards. Like he is now after defeating Katakuri. So Whole Cake Island was vital training, aside from the fact that he gained the ability of Future Sight Haki, or at the very least, is beginning to tap into that potential. Luffy should now have an understanding of what it will take in order to even face Kaido. And I think that this leads directly into my last point about what was really accomplished in this arc. Luffy now knows what it means to be a Yonko and how much further he needs to go in order to get to that level. They came in with all sorts of carefree attitudes. We're going to go in, we're going to get Sanji, we're going to come back out, and it has not gone the way that was planned. Now, I've been having discussion with this on my first reaction to the last chapter, as well as on Twitter, but people don't seem to understand why I'm so pessimistic about the end of this arc. JB, they got the road poneglyph, they got Sanji, it's all good, man, this is a win, they're gonna be celebrating afterwards, and I really do not think so, because Pedro died. If the Straw Hats party after all of this, plus Peckham's fate, plus the Vinsmoke's fate, I know that we shouldn't care about the Vinsmokes, but Sanji still wanted to protect them, and if the arc ends, then it's unclear. At the very least, he did care a lot about Revujo. Not to mention Zeph. Sanji came here to save Zeph, to protect Zeph, but ultimately didn't really do anything much in order to guarantee his safety. And regardless of their faith or their belief, I'm certain that they will be at least partly concerned for Jinbei. As I said in my first reaction to the last chapter, this is by far the Straw Hats' greatest failure. Because the only other failure that is even comparable to this is what happened to Ace, and that was just Luffy's failure, not the Straw Hats' crew. And even still, Ace dying was more Ace's fault than it was Luffy's, because Ace was basically saved. And Ace pretty much started the whole thing in the first place despite warnings from the Whitebeard Pirates, because he decided to chase Blackbeard. But it was Luffy's decision to come to Whole Cake Island. It was Sanji's decision to come to Whole Cake Island, and their actions had unintended consequences. It is in my opinion that the crew should be more fragile than they have been ever. But I still want to make a video entirely about this because I do want to talk about where I think Sanji's thoughts might be and where that could lead the story and how that could affect the Straw Hat crew. But let's end this video on something on basically what my opinion is for really what's really going to test the Straw Hat's bonds going forward. And it's that I fully expect for Big Mom to follow them from Whole Cake Island to Wano. If I think that one thing has occurred at Whole Cake Island, it's that Luffy has pissed off Big Mom, destroyed her cake, messed up her tea party, attacked her islands, made her look bad. I wouldn't be surprised if Brule or somebody else told her that they also stole a copy of her road poneglyph. Even if Big Mom doesn't remember what occurred during the chase, she should wonder what happened to Zeus, and Prometheus was there to see what occurred with him. He should suspect that Zeus is on the Straw Hat ship. The Straw Hats are literally taking Zeus with them. If Pudding tells her that Sanji was the one to make the cake, then that's just another reason for Big Mom to want Sanji. And guys, you could spend a really long time talking about this, but the list goes on and on and on. They destroyed the portrait of Mother Carmel. The Big Mom pirates know that they were responsible for giving Big Mom an exploding Tamate Bako box. And the Big Mom pirates have to worry about their reputation because Morgans and Stussy are also leaving Whole Cake Island. There is an absolutely absurd number of reasons for Big Mom to follow the Straw Hats to Wano. And it's not like Big Mom does not know where they are going next. They stated themselves that they are going to go after Kaido. Kaido is in Wano. And if she doesn't actually know this information, based on what we have learned about her, she can obtain it. Because she learns this kind of shit about where people are and where people are going. And I think this is without saying that the Straw Hats will not get too far away from the Big Mom pirates in the first place, because at the very best, I only think that they're going to get about a 3-hour head start. This debate really comes down to this question: is Big Mom willing to face Kaido for the sake of getting the Straw Hats? Is getting revenge on them herself important enough in order to risk this? And I would say that based on everything she has learned and could learn, yes. Or if not, things look pretty dire for Zeph, for everyone the Straw Hats have ever known, for Fishman Island, because Big Mom right now should be steaming for revenge against the Straw Hats. If she decides that she cannot risk conflict with Kaido, she can't go after the Straw Hats, then I expect her to go after the people that the Straw Hats love. Zoro specifically said this before the Straw Hats even left Zou to go to Whole Cake Island: we cannot deal with 2 Yonko at the same time. It seems like the perfect setup to have to deal with 2 Yonko at the same time. But yeah guys, honestly, if we don't learn anything else, then I think our expectation should be that Big Mom will follow them to Wano, and oh my god, that would create such an epic arc. And it's only possible because we visited Whole Cake Island. But anyway, you could probably talk about this for a lot longer, go into the specificities, but I think that this is probably good for now. I just really wanted to discuss basically why we went to Whole Cake Island, or my opinion why we went to Whole Cake Island, and what it really accomplished. But as always, I'm curious as to what you guys have to say about this, whether you agree or disagree, and why. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always guys, have a wonderful day.